We love Zencaster because it allows us to record the audio for our podcast and create the video segments we use for our weekly Sister Scoop episodes. Zencaster has helped us make content capture simple.
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests, and feel a sense of zen knowing Zencaster's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable.
If you've thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are over. With Zencaster's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations.
Just go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code SistersAssembled, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Katie and I are always hungry, and one snack we both love is beef jerky. That's why we're so excited to tell you about one of our favorite jerky brands, Matt Hat Jerky.
Matt Hat's delicious taste makes it a great snack, and the variety of flavors, including original, black truffle, and my personal favorite, roasted garlic, means there's a flavor for everyone. Plus, it's local to the area where we grew up in, which we just love.
Use the link in the show notes below to get some Matt Hat Jerky for yourself, and make sure to use our coupon code SistersAssembled for 10% off. Hello and welcome to Sisters Assembled, your home for all things MCU. And hard to believe it, but this is going to be our last episode of 2024, which of course means we're going to take a look at the year in Marvel and Marvel adjacent content, and also take a peek at the year ahead and talk a little bit about what we are super excited to check out and discuss next year. With all of that in mind, I'm going to let Katie kick us off because we've got a action-packed and really good episode ready for you guys.
Yeah, and we're going to get right into it. And we're actually just going to make it really, really simple for ranking our 2024 pieces of content because, quite frankly, we agree. And I don't really think that should be far too surprising to anybody who's listened to the pod throughout the year, or honestly just especially in the movie department, it really didn't seem that hard to make some of these decisions. So we're going to really quick run through the 2024, kind of recap the things that we had liked, and then we're really going to focus on what's coming in 2025 because it's a big year.
It is.
It's a big Marvel year, like specifically to the MCU. So I want to make sure we spend our time on that. I know T does as well. So going right into just running down 2024 for the shows. Obviously, in first place, this shouldn't be, honestly, a shock to anybody. X-Men 97. We loved that show. We cannot wait for season 2. It was just arguably the best 10 episodes of television I think I might have ever watched. So that should not be shocking. Coming in second, then was Agatha All Along. We also really enjoyed that one. If you guys listen to our coverage of that, I don't think you'd find that shocking either. And then in third, we did put Echo. Yes, if y'all remember, that even came out this year. That was our only other live action. I don't think that's why personally, that's not why I rated it the way I did, putting What If then in the last spot. I don't like season 3 of What If, and I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, for just a little bit of context, we are recording this right after having seen episode 6. So we have not seen the finale of What If season 3, but through 6 episodes, I can tell you we've had the chance to watch all 6 that have come out so far together. And the amount of weird looks that we've been giving to each other as we've been sitting on the couch watching together, like what the heck is this, have been numerous. And it's just been a little bit of a challenging season to get through. I think we're not the only ones. So, we're just basing it off of what we've seen so far. And through 6, it has been the weakest of the shows so far this year.
Oh, yeah. And I think watching episodes 7 and 8 aren't necessarily going to change that for me.
Agreed.
Regardless. We were hoping to record this earlier, but then we both got the stomach bug, which was not ideal. But I'm glad that we actually got to wait because we were going to put What If last regardless because we hadn't gotten to see it yet. But now that I've actually gotten to see, what is it, like 3/4 of it at this point, like I'm glad to be able to sit there and say, no, I'm not enjoying this. I am not enjoying it the way I enjoyed season 1. I'm not enjoying it even, and I have my complaints about season 2, but at least I relatively enjoyed it enough still. I'm not enjoying it like that at this point. So I'm glad that we were able to get far enough into it that I feel like we can give it a true ranking and that it is going last for us. But going into the movies, I mean, come on, guys. Let's not even beat around this bush. We all know Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be on the top of the list. Even if Marvel had put out 17 million other movies, we all know that was going to be the top of the 2024 movie list. It's crazy if you're not ranking that the highest. But then we go into our other topic, which theoretically we'll never have to talk about again, but we'll see. And those are all of our Sony adjacent, Marvel, whatever they're trying to do over there, movies. And we agree on these too. So we did put Craven in second place, shockingly to a lot of the world, I think. And then we put Venom 3, and not shockingly to anybody, Madam Web. And I actually think if we could put that so low, like if we could just put blank spots in the middle and rank that like negative 1,000, I would. Like fourth place seems horrible to give that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to insult Craven the Hunter or Venom 3 by putting Madam Web next to them. Like, those were actually decent movies. Like, if you listen to our reactions to both Craven and Venom 3, we enjoyed both of those films. And, you know, take them for what they are. You know, they're not MCU films, but overall, they still were enjoyable to watch. Madam Web is unintelligible. It doesn't make any sense. It was, quite frankly, a terrible film, and it does not even deserve to be next to Venom 3 because you're looking at a passable film and a film that is not even near the realm of passable. So I don't want to insult those two films or give any indication that Madam Web is even in the same realm as the other two of those films.
And quite frankly, having it only 3 spots away from Deadpool and Wolverine actually like hurts me.
It's
like
actually
physically
horrifying.
Makes me sick.
Yeah.
So if I could, that thing is so far on a list, I don't even have words for it. But none of that should have been far too shocking to anybody, especially if you did listen to the podcast this year. But we're gonna pivot now because we've got a lot of exciting content, and again, it's all Marvel. So let's get into 2025. I'll start with Taylor. We're gonna start with the movies because I think we both are the most excited about the movies. So starting with your very, very top spot, what do you got?
I think this comes to a surprise to no one if you've been listening to our show for any amount of time. It's Fantastic Four First Steps. Y'all know I am a huge Pedro Pascal fan. I've been looking forward to Fantastic Four for a while. I cried when he was announced as Reed Richards, and then quickly followed that by a happy dance. So yeah, that one has got to be it for me. As soon as the trailers start to really roll out and not the on the phone film that we were getting from Comic-Con and like official trailers start to drop, like y'all are going to see a new side of me in levels of excitement that you have not seen before. So get ready because that film is going to be my entire personality for the whole year of 2025.
I mean, it already is your entire personality.
So true, but it's going to be next level. Just get ready for that.
Okay.
We're turning up the dials, friends. It's the year of first steps.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Anyway, we do not align here. I actually have to admit it's my least favorite movie that I have coming out. But in retrospect of this list, they're all good.
Yeah.
Like, they're all good options. It's not because I'm not excited for the movie. It's just because I'm more excited for the other two that are coming out earlier in the year. This also goes to show, if you've listened to this podcast, nobody's shocked about my answer for the top spot, which is Thunderbolts. I think I've waited for this movie forever.
Since the day you were born.
Since the day I was created. I have been waiting.
This is your villain origin story.
No, exactly. I have been waiting for this movie. We do have trailers for Thunderbolts, so that's very exciting. Obviously, that makes sense. We also are getting it like early May. So I'm very excited for it. My man Sebastian coming back once again, playing one of the now longest running roles, especially in live action. I'm extremely happy about that. And I just think it's going to be a really enjoyable movie. I think it's going to be lighthearted. It's going to have its moments, but I think it's the first real team up we're getting, and not like obviously the Fantastic Four is its own team up, but like I mean like kind of like an Avengers kind of team up, and I think we need that. I think we've been missing out on it. I think it's been a huge complaint of people just in general, and so maybe it's not the Avengers yet, and that's fine, but like I'll take this group of hooligans over the Avengers right now any day. Like I'm very, very excited for that. So I can't wait for May. That is what I am looking most forward to.
Yeah, that comes as no surprise. But I think then, based on that, you tell me, but I think we would agree then on our number 2 spot, which is, of course, Captain America 4, subtitled Brave New World, coming out on Valentine's Day 2025. Y'all know, I'm a Cap girly at heart. I am so excited to see Sam step into the role of Captain America. You know, we saw him make that transition in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it will be great to see him headline his own film as Cap the whole time. Obviously, he's playing against Harrison Ford, which is like iconic. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so the fact that he's even in here in the MCU is incredible. We're bringing back tons and tons of characters. We're bringing back, obviously, the leader, and there's going to be new characters involved as well. I'm a little worried it's going to be potentially a little busy with all of the different things happening, but at the same time, just the trailers that have come out, the tone of the film, it looks incredible. And I'm so, so, so excited for Cap 4.
Yeah, we are aligned on this one. That is in my second slot as well. And I echo a lot of that same sentiment. I'm excited to see Sam finally on the big screen again, just in general, because while I think The Falcon and Winter Soldier was a really good show, it kind of did him an injustice, in my opinion, to have him suit up and become Captain America in a show rather than give him that moment on the big screen. So I'm glad that they're finally giving him his next movie. It's deserved. I do have the same concerns that it seems like audience ratings and things or first showings have not seemingly been sounding like they're the best, but the movie looks good from trailers. So it's kind of going to be one of those things where I think you just got to go in and watch it. It's going to be hard to kind of make that decision by just going off of early showings, or not even early showings, just like test footage and all that other stuff. I'm so excited. It's a Captain America movie. You can't really go wrong with a Captain America movie. I don't think a single one of them is inherently bad.
I agree.
So I do think it's going to be good. You got Red Hulk in it. I'm excited to see that actually happen and the ramifications of that as well. Is it going to be too busy? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what's going to be happening. I don't entirely know where we go from super soldiers suddenly attacking the president to the president being a Red Hulk. I don't really know how the plot's going to go.
Well, and adamantium, like
yeah. Then you're going to talk about the fact that Tiamat is like hanging in the ocean. I hear you, but it's fine. I'll still be sad. It's okay.
Cool. So then moving into our final film, or our last one on the list, I just want to echo what Katie was saying when she was talking about Fantastic Four. My last film on my list is Thunderbolts, not because I'm not excited about the Thunderbolts, but simply because the slate next year in terms of films is just so strong that somebody just has to come in last. And being a Pedro Pascal fan the way I am, and being as excited for the Fantastic Four to join, you know, having the first family, then being a huge Captain America fan, just somebody had to come in last, and that was the Thunderbolts. However, to what Katie was saying, you know, I do think having a team up is going to be huge to really bring together this saga in a way that is way less disjointed than it has been in the past, as well as just the levity. I think there's going to be a lot of really big personalities, which is going to be really, really fun. And I just think overall, I'm hoping it does a really good job of kind of bringing things together and bringing storylines and characters together while also having levity and those moments of gravitas that we've come to really love and enjoy in Avengers level films. So I just want to make that super, super clear. I'm not excited for the Thunderbolts. It's just that, you know, there's so much incredible excitement for the other two that this guy just has to fall in third place.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I feel about Fantastic Four. I think I have a few more misgivings about Fantastic Four than I think you do about Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because, I mean, one, this is going to be the third time in movie form that they're coming to the big screen. And two, they're going a very different direction, which isn't a bad thing, but it makes you nervous. Obviously, I'm not sitting here waiting for them to make the same movie they made in 2004. I'm aware of that. I'm not asking for that. And God, just leave whatever 2017 or what movie that was. Just leave that
Let's just
in whatever depth it's in. Like, nobody touched that. But I am a little nervous because they are kind of going more of that classic look, because it's going to be in like the 60s.
Yeah.
Like they're going OG. And that is not a bad thing, like I said, but it does make me a little nervous, and it makes me unsure because now you're bringing out a movie that's inherently set in the past to what we've been told, not in our timeline, but they're obviously going to be playing that role later on in whatever timeline we end up. So I think just knowing that this is already going to be tied to the multiverse, it probably is what has me like, oh God, no.
See, as much as I am the queen of despising the multiverse on this show, two words have overarchingly just removed all concerns, and those words are Pedro Pascal. And so, therefore, like, I am blinded to any of my normal, like, analytical thoughts about this because there's just no logic when it comes to him. I love that man, and I will watch everything that he's in, and therefore, I am just excited about this film, and it's going to be amazing, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Listen, I don't think it won't be amazing. I just have my concerns. That's why I think for me, like, it never was in the ballpark, I think, for even running for my top two spots. Granted, again, very similar to you. As a team Cap, I'm not a Cap girly, but by like association, I obviously am going to enjoy Captain America, but also on the flip side, my man is literally in the Thunderbolts. Like,
Yeah.
he is front and center. So I was clearly going to be picking those movies over top, no matter what was in this list. But I do have a couple concerns about F4, if you will. I have a couple things that I'm like, this is either going to go out really, really well, or this is going to be really bad. And knowing that they're also going to play such a pivotal role moving forward, I'm a little worried.
Those are fair and logical arguments that my brain has decided to ignore. But on that note, I think we are done with the shows because are done with the movies because we've only got 3 movies coming out, which is kind of crazy because they also front loaded them, and we're gonna be done with movies by the end of July and just like have none for the rest of the year. But that's fine.
Rest in peace, Blade.
Ah, please bring that back and like tell us when the date is because I'm really excited. Guys, if you haven't watched the OG trilogy with Wesley Snipes, like 10 out of 10 recommend, and they will make you so excited for the reboot because that trilogy is really good and it's really enjoyable and it's a really good adaptation. So just know we are rooting for you, Blade, even though you fell off the 2025 slate.
Yeah, and TBD if you'll be on 2026.
Rooting for you. Anyway, 2025 shows. There is a whole list. I'm looking, there's 6 shows coming out in 2026, which is kind of aggressive and a little surprising given some of the, news that has come out about how they're going to release things, but here we are. So we're just going to take it one by one. I don't think anybody is surprised by this one either, but my number 1 show of 2025 will, of course, be Daredevil Born Again. Y'all know I have really, really enjoyed the Netflix show. I'm super excited to see him come back, not just in cameos, but leading his own show again, knowing it's a soft reboot, but not really a reboot, a continuation set in the MCU. I'm excited to have the opportunities to have him a part of the wider universe that we're missing in his show. I just think, everything that's happening with Kingpin right now and the appearances that he's made, the way his character has been moved along in those storylines, we're setting up for something really fun and really big, and I'm very, very excited. I know the show is going to be pivotal, and we already know that the cast works well together. We know that they know how to make a really, really good superhero show, so they've already got 3 solid seasons behind them, and so I just think this one's going to hopefully knock it out of the park.
I'm aligned with you on that one. I am most looking forward to Daredevil. I am working my way through the Defenders universe now in preparation for it, but just even what I've seen, I like the character, I like the story. It's interesting, it's gritty, and knowing what they've pushed for with this show to make it just like the Netflix one and to continue it. Because remember, guys, it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
And they actually shot plenty of scenes that were not meant to be a continuation in any way, shape, or form. And it's gone through a lot of changes, including bringing back a lot of the OG cast that were not initially back in this show. So knowing that it's been fought for properly so that it can be done under a new heading, yes, but still very similar to it before, because Netflix or not, it was a successful show.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really enjoyed it, whether they cared about it being a superhero or not. It was enjoyed by a lot. So I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really good. To your point, kind of opens the doors further for Daredevil as a character. We've had him in 2 or 3 cameos already. Like, I'm ready to see this character be integrated a lot more into the MCU now. They kind of played with our feelings, I feel like, because they did it in No Way Home and She-Hulk, and you're like, great. And then radio silence. I was like, listen, I'll take a Matt Murdock random Daredevil like cameo anytime. And so why do you do it in 2 works and then haven't heard about him since?
Well, we did get the mini cameo in the flashback in Echo, but that was it.
Oh, you are right. I knew there was a third one. I was like,
Yeah,
why am I
yeah.
missing it? That's true. That's true. We're getting a lot of breadcrumbs. So I'll take it, but I'm ready for the actual show.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Can't wait for March. Also my birthday month, so thanks Marvel for giving me that for my birthday. And my next one is also a live action. I know we have quite a few animation shows set for next year as well, but my next one is actually Ironheart. I really liked Riri Williams, introduced in Wakanda Forever. She's a great character. I think she's going to be super interesting. And the footage that we have seen from the show is really not, I don't think, what I expected, but in a really good way. I think they're kind of subverting my expectations, making me really excited. And, honestly, having had Riri and then the Hood in 2 episodes of What If recently, I'm really excited to see how they'll come together. And I think it's just going to be really fun. I think that she has a lot of potential as a character as well. So looking forward to having her take center stage. We got her, small introduction in Wakanda Forever, but now she's going to be the star. And I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm not entirely shocked that that's in your second spot because I don't know what else would have been, but I don't know. I just I don't know. We'll see. My second spot is different. I put Marvel Zombies, which
Not
nobody should be
surprised.
that thrown off about. Yeah. I've been waiting for this since it's been announced and since the first season of What If had Marvel Zombies. And I was like, this is exactly everything I've ever asked for. Thank you. So I'm very excited for it. I'm a little less excited knowing it's like 4 whole episodes. And I'm like, why'd I wait almost 3 years of my life? No, not even. By the time it comes out, it's like 3.5, almost 4 years of my life, it feels like.
Over 4 years.
Don't
What
say
if
that.
was like summer
Don't say that.
2021, like end of summer,
Okay.
early fall?
Okay, that's fine. Why? But I had to wait this long for it. Fine, give it what it needs. But it's 4 episodes. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't know. Either way, I'm still excited for it. But I definitely am kind of a little sad that it's not going to be very long. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I think the premise is cool. It actually would be a premise I really would love to see in live action one day.
It'd be
I
really
think
scary.
it's cool. Yeah, and it would be. And I think that's different. Everybody always talks about doing something different for Marvel, and Marvel should try different genres, which, let's be real, y'all hate it every time they do. So I don't know why you keep saying that. And the worst part is I generally I do like them when they go different genres. So I don't really understand. But regardless, I would love to see something like that in live action. I don't know how we'd ever get there, but I think it would be genuinely really cool and really freaky. And you'd get such a weird mix of people in the theater for that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is to placate us just in general or whatever, but I would love for this to be like a stepping stone into something way further down the line.
Yeah. I mean, it could totally be cool to do like a real R-rated horror, like Marvel Zombies actual film. Could be really fun.
Or make it a TV show, but then no, don't. Because honestly, talk myself out of that within 5 seconds. Honestly, we all saw when they did something like Secret Invasion and tried to make that a TV show.
True.
So because your track record's not great with big events, don't do that. Make it a movie.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's a good call. We don't want to repeat of Secret Invasion. All right, now moving into my third spot, y'all know I really prefer live action over animation, so I'm going to go with Wonder Man. I think the character is another really interesting one. He is, and I'm not sure which iteration it is in the comics, has a relationship with Wanda, but one of them has a relationship with Wanda because there's 2 guys who hold the Wonder Man mantle, and obviously we haven't done our research into the character yet because it's almost a year until this one comes out, but knowing kind of his background in the Nova Corps, I think that's something that has been kind of out there for so long since it was introduced in the first Guardians. I want to explore that more. I think it's so untapped and there's so much potential there. So that's, other than the fact that I tend to prefer live action, that's going to be my number 3 because I think there's just a lot of opportunity to open up some different doors through that show.
I think that one's going to be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to expect from it.
I'm also confused about why the faux leader of the 10 Rings is in it. What's his name?
Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor Slattery. There we go. I don't know why Trevor's in it other than Trevor's an actor, but It's just like that is throwing me off a little bit tone wise, and so I'm definitely very curious to see how this is all gonna turn out, but curious in like a really excited type of way.
Yeah, I don't think I have any thoughts on it quite yet. I know we've seen like the brief clips of it from, I think, right before, well, it all dropped before one of the episodes of Agatha, and then
Yeah.
it physically dropped. Like they literally had the trailer before the episode of Agatha because I had happened to be offline that day because I was working and I was like really in a project, and all this stuff dropped and I didn't know. And then I started Agatha and I was like, oh, I just won't skip the credits this time or whatever. And then next thing I know, it was all this. And I was like, Taylor, what is going on? So, I mean, all we see is that. I think it's hard to make like really decisions about that until we know a little bit more. Obviously, this is one of those shows that I think has been on the like radar for like 9 million years too. So I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
kind of an interesting thing to think about as well. I'm going to say something really controversial. And I'm going to say from here on out, as in for the rest of this list, 3 through 6, quite frankly, I don't care. I know that's going to sound controversial. And for me, that includes Ironheart, that includes Wonder Man, Eyes of Wakanda, and the Spider-Man show.
Wow.
I don't really care.
That's harsh.
I know. When we were making this list, I knew what I was putting up in the top 2, and then I just kind of looked at it and was like, I guess I'll put the live actions in the middle. Like, I mean, sure, I guess they're going to be more important for me anyway. And then the animation, the other 2 animations, I don't care for. I'm going to be honest. I think my personal thing is, first off, why do I care about Riri? Because she's been gone in my mind for 2.5 years. And I think that's where I struggle. I struggle a lot with the whole object permanence thing. And so, like, this character is so not important to me because I haven't seen her since the second Black Panther. Like, I just don't have any thought about Riri Williams at any given point. And so, even in the What If episode, I was like, yeah, forgot you existed. And you have a whole show coming out. And I'm sure it's going to be good. Like, I'm sure I'm going to watch it and enjoy it. But I guess I'm like, there's a window that Marvel keeps missing with certain spinoffs.
I would agree.
Yeah, her spinoff needed to be a lot closer to when she appeared in Black Panther because, again, now I don't really care. Wonder Man, I don't know. Like, I don't even, like, what is the purpose of the show? What is the purpose of introducing this character? I'm sure when we do more research and to what you were saying, like, he has certain relationships with people like the Scarlet Witch and stuff like that. And I know it's kind of in the Guardians realm and that stuff. I get it. But again, Guardians 3 came out, what, last year already?
Mm-hmm.
Like almost a year and a half. No, over a year and a half ago. I'm starting to care less, especially because, and I've said this before, guys, we're moving towards Secret Wars. Like, that's what's in my brain. So I don't super care about these 2 shows that I'm like, what are they going to add to in that bigger storyline? I don't know. So yeah, my whole, like, not even second half, like the whole 2/3 of the bottom of the list, I really could do without. Quite frankly, I don't need all these shows. So the order doesn't really matter from here on out for me. But I did put the 2 live actions in the middle as 3, 4. Doesn't really matter for me which one goes where. I mean, I'm going to watch them. We're going to do our coverage, but I'm not really looking forward to them. I will openly admit that.
Wow, that was very, very blunt. Okay.
Listen, I have to be honest because I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm not. Like, I'm really excited movie wise, and then show wise, I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's also interesting because it kind of touches on what you were saying about like missing the window, but I feel like some of these shows were announced so long ago, almost at like the beginning of when Disney Plus was launched. I feel like we've been talking about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and Eyes of Wakanda since 2019 when they announced Disney Plus.
I feel like Wonder Man has been on the slate for 9 million years.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, like I was excited at a point, but now it's been so many years that these have been on, supposedly supposed to come out. Like Eyes of Wakanda was supposedly supposed to come out this year. Same thing with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And now we're looking at the back half for Eyes of Wakanda. Like I think it's in maybe August of next year. And then Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man at the top of this coming year in 2025. And it's just like, well, these just keep getting pushed. I did go through the exercise of actually like listing out my final few, so I'm gonna do that.
Oh, I listed them out, but mine don't really matter.
No, I know. I actually have like reasoning for mine, so I'm just gonna list mine out since you kind of have them interchangeable. But My number 4 is Marvel Zombies. To your point, I think it is really interesting. I liked that episode of What If. So for me, when I'm looking at the animated series coming out, that's going to be the top of the animated and the 4th overall. Then I'm moving into Eyes of Wakanda. Y'all know I really like the Black Panther franchise. I like Wakanda. I like that we're getting to explore it. I think it is going to be interesting, and I'm hoping that the delays don't that it's able to supersede the delays in terms of excitement, and that as it gets closer I'll get more excited, because I do think it's an interesting premise to understand. I think it's about the Black Panther and like they're not the Black Panther, but the what are they called? The war dogs throughout history. And I do think that's interesting. And I'm excited to see how Wakanda has evolved over time. I will say I was a lot more excited about this show probably a year ago than I am now. Hopefully, again, as we get closer and we start to see more footage and more comes out about it and we learn more, we will get that level of excitement back. And then my last spot is just because I truly like the way that you feel about the back half overall. This is the way I feel specifically about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man, because we were talking about this earlier, just Katie and I, but this was originally supposed to be the prequel to Tom's trilogy, right? Because we didn't get to see him do the whole spider bite, la la la, Uncle Ben, like all of that, the kind of traditional Spider Man beats that you need to hit. And that was intentional in terms of live action because they didn't want to do it again. I totally get that, on board with it, fine. This was going to be their workaround to show those important beats. And I honestly didn't care about it then because I've seen Toby do it, I've seen Andrew do it. I have seen it done in animation. Like, I understand the story. You can tell the story off screen. That was the whole point. But then they switched it, and now it's basically a what if series about Spider Man. And I simply don't care about another universe's Spider Man. And I just feel like, why are we making this? Like, you put it on the slate so long ago. Nobody cared then. Nobody cares now. Cut your losses. Like, nobody's even talking about it. They're not even marketing it. Like, it comes out in like a month and Marvel's not talking about it. And I understand they're in the middle of a what if push, and that's fine.
But they're marketing Brave New World.
I know. Yes. Well, to be fair, Brave New World's going to make them money. It's a film, theatrical release.
I get it, but like, you've done dual marketing before because you also always release movies at the same time you're releasing shows.
Don't even get me started on the stuff.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you've done it before.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I just think it has gotten so pushed to the wayside because it's not a priority, because it's not telling a story that anybody cares about. And honestly, like, I know that sounds so rude, but like, we'll cover it. I'm not going to care all that much. And then we're going to move on to things that are, in my opinion, way more interesting. Like, y'all are going to see, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man because, quite frankly, unless it really exceeds expectations and blows our minds, it's not going to be important. What is going to be important is Captain America that comes out 2 weeks later, because that's going to be something that's worth analyzing and worth like really spending time going into.
Listen, I just want the second season of X-Men 97.
Honestly.
Which I know is done.
Yeah.
So why are we not getting that next year? Even if we get it later in the year. Like, I'm a little confused. If you're gonna give us shows, give us what I think, your audience wants. And I think a really good point that we've been dancing around. Listen, I know a lot of work goes into this stuff, especially the animation.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of problems with, especially with the effects and all that stuff, with those people getting treated properly in the workplace and just getting compensated for the amount of work they really do and under a lot of duress. I get it. Like, there's been a lot of stories about it. I mean, we had strikes. Don't worry, guys. We've talked about this. And this is not to minimize any of that. And so I do think some of it is because it's like, well, it's been done.
Yeah.
And like, if it's done and it's sitting there, it's got to go out, right? Like, I get it. But again, then maybe think things through.
Yeah.
I have 4 out of 6 pieces of content coming out on Disney Plus next year I don't care about. And I mean, as a podcast and as a natural fan, I would be watching it anyway. But as a podcast, we're going to be covering this. But the fact that like, you're missing your timing and you're announcing things so far in advance, which I get it. Like, they've always done that. But the problem kind of is you're losing us.
Yeah.
You used to line things up a little bit better, or like give us breadcrumbs enough for me to be excited. The fact that this is the first time I saw Riri Williams since her debut and it wasn't even in live action is crazy.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to the person who pointed out that that What If episode definitely was planning on her show being out. Like, you could tell that episodes 5 and 6 had been banking on the fact that Ironheart was coming out before What If season 3, and like it didn't again.
We literally sat next to each other and had to debate whether the Hood and the Red Hood, we like thought they were different characters. I was like, isn't that the guy from Riri's show? And she was like, no, I think that's the Red Hood. And we literally had to Google it. We are people who spend time in these conversations. We're probably, and this is not to toot our own horn, but like we're probably more knowledgeable than 90% of your casual fans. And the fact that we had to Google it is pretty bad. Like that means you're losing your casual fans. Like because you're not like planning out the slate in a way that you're continually making us excited about characters or maintaining our excitement about characters, because Riri is awesome. She had a great debut. She's very cool. But that was 2.5 by the time her show comes out. Well, I guess just over 2. But by the time her show comes out 2.5 years prior, you're losing people. Like you need to either, to your point, create breadcrumbs for people or plot it out better so that characters are having arcs in tighter windows.
Well, and to be fair, she was not a small part, but you also had her in a movie that nobody was there for her.
Yeah.
Because it was already reeling from something that the franchise itself could not control, obviously, and we know that. And so people were already seeing that movie in honor of Chadwick and to continue the story and see how that was going to go and how they were going to refocus it. Riri was no part a priority to me in that at all.
Agreed.
Like it was a fact. I was worried about how they were going to tell the story. I mean, how were they going to explain his death? I think that was something we talked about going into it. Like that's the other part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's like she was just introduced in a project that in that moment people were just not worried about this side character. But you've done it right before, guys. Like Yelena was introduced in Black Widow. Then she was in Hawkeye.
You brought Sam in Winter Soldier, and now he's Captain America, but you put Sam in other. Sam had a cameo in Age of Ultron. Did he need to be in Age of Ultron? No.
No.
But it kept you in your head being like, oh, there's the Falcon. Okay, cool. So then when he showed up in Civil War, you were like, oh, I just saw him last year in Age of Ultron. That's cool. Like now I have seen Sam multiple years in a row. Then when he steps into his own, you're like, oh, well, I've been seeing Sam consistently for 7 to 8 years now. Not, I saw Sam in one movie and then I didn't see him for 2 years and now he's getting primed to be Captain America. Like that wouldn't have worked. So why are you doing that now when you were so good at, to your point, taking the Sams or the Yelenas and putting them in projects and repeatedly including them in things so that they maintained their relevance? And that's what's happening, is these characters who aren't appearing for years and years on end are losing their relevance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. And that's why, like I said, like even the live actions, the fact and Wonder Man is a different story all in itself, but the fact I can't even feel excitement towards seeing Ironheart right now because I'm like, I don't have a tie to this. And you brought up the What If episode. I didn't even know what the whole Hood thing was. I still don't. I'm like, what's the power? Who actually, like, so the Hood is missing? Like, I don't understand because I was not introduced to this character yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was a weird choice.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I am not super looking forward to the show side too much of what Marvel is putting out next year, but the movies are going to be banging. They have a huge and amazing great slate of 3 movies again. Unfortunately, front loaded, to your point. That's a little like not my favorite
Annoying.
thing too.
Yeah.
Obviously, to be fair, that's because Blade was supposed to be in a November spot. So we had a good spread, and then when you lose that, and listen, please do not move any of the movies.
Yeah, no, they've been
don't.
moved enough.
Well, and I simply don't want to wait longer for Thunderbolts. So do not move any of the movies. But I will say, I am a little sad because we won't have a movie ending the year past now July. Whatever. You know, it's going to be what's going to be. I might end up enjoying Ironheart, might end up enjoying Wonder Man. It might open doors we aren't even thinking about right now. Obviously, this is such a high level kind of thing when we do this. I eat my words, I'm sure, every year in some capacity. Like, even this past year, Taylor and I were just talking about how I was like, remember when you rated Echo as your most look forward to thing and then you didn't really like Echo at all?
I struggled. I like the character, but I mean, why did you take her in a mystical? I will never get over them taking her mystically. I just will never come back from that.
And that's fair. And I think, like, for us, again, this is such a high level. Some of these shows we haven't even seen clips of,
Yeah.
and we don't even know what they're going to look like. So you can't really make a lot of real thoughts and deductions on that. But either way, we'll be covering all of it in some capacity, in some form, whether it's on the podcast, on our socials for some of the animated stuff, because it doesn't all necessarily warrant an episode. So we're going to kind of keep you guys updated with that. But we're excited still for what's coming in 2025. And Lord knows not to go 365 days ahead of us. Well, as of currently, like 368 days ahead of us, but 2026.
I know. It's going to be a big year. It's going to be a good year. Lots of content. So we're not going to have any shortage of things to talk about. I'm excited for all of it at a base level, some things more than others. But you know what? I'm excited for Marvel to exceed our expectations on the things that we are less excited about. And that's what I'm rooting for them to do, because I will always root for Marvel's success. And on that note, we would just want to thank you all for sticking with us here in 2024. We've got a lot of great content and things to talk about with you in 2025. So, from all of us, me and Katie over here at Sisters Assemble, just want to thank you for following us, for finding us, for being with us this year. Hope you have a great end of your year and a great start to 2025. We'll see you next year. And here's to Marvel in 2025. If you are looking forward to staying with us in 2025, make sure that you're following on your podcast platform of choice, bookmarking the website, because our calendar will be up to date, because there's a lot of stuff coming out. So we're going to be making sure everything fits in like a cute little Tetris board. And then also, if you would like to support us, you can do so on our Buy Me a Coffee, which is linked in the show notes below.
Make sure you guys are also following and keeping up with us on all of our socials, especially because we are covering some of these animated things like What If on socials, and then just doing a big podcast episode at the end. So if you want episode by episode reactions, make sure you're there. Instagram, TikTok, if it's still here, but go ahead anyway for now. All of them, just go ahead and give us a follow. Make sure you're keeping up with us. And speaking of, our What If kind of wrap up podcast episode will be coming out next week to talk about the 8-episode event. All came out all at once. So if you want our episode by episode reactions, like I said, those are on our socials, but we will be doing like a big wrapping kind of podcast episode next week. So stick around for that one, because that one's going to be good. And into the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. And we'll see you next year, because Marvel just blew your mind. So let's talk about it.